How many of those things are there supposed to be?
I think there's like 20.
Well, there's like 200 now.
In 48 to 72 hours, all hell is gonna break loose.
They're in tanks. They look absolutely safe to me.
World where we have Sharknado and its sequels, we have an even lower budget version of that movie, and we are talking about the movie Jurassic Piranha, as it was known in the US, Piranha Sharks. Now, this movie basically focuses on this kind of experiment gone wrong, essentially, and what it is, the actual premise, I have to say, is quite fun. Basically, these kind of little tiny genetically engineered sharks have been developed as some kind of biological weapon, and they're microscopic, and they can basically be ejected to someone, and obviously it would kill you from the inside. However, it was never approved, and therefore some kind of like independent sort of financier basically wants to market them as kind of pets, basically, like, you know, like an exotic pet. And as you could probably expect, things go wrong, and they kind of start reproducing at an unprecedented rate and getting the water supply, and it's up to a band of misfits, including these kind of Ghostbuster-like exterminators, to try and fix the problem. So, just like the Sharknado films, this one has a few sort of celebrity cameos, although as the budget is a lot lower, there are a lot fewer of them, and they are of kind of lesser known celebrities. Obviously, Kevin Sorbo probably being the one who you're going to recognise most, to be honest with you. He plays the mayor here. And this has actually got some things I kind of liked about it, which I was surprised about, to be honest. So, I've gone through the plot really, but the strength of this film is, first of all, in its premise. In a way, although this is not in any way a serious film, the premise is quite intriguing, kind of like miniaturized sharks, you know, that kind of get loose. So I actually kind of found that quite a fun idea, and it's something that, you know, I don't think we've ever seen something like that before. So, you know, although it's cheesy and silly, it was somewhat of an original idea, albeit based on the kind of some success that obviously Sharknado has, and the kind of its various mega shark versus things and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of fun having, rather than these kind of bigger sharks, having tiny little ones. And the other major feather in this cap is the characters here, especially the actors that play the kind of the three exterminators. Really likeable and fun characters. I mean, they are very kind of relatable, strangely. I mean, I'm not going to say that the acting is, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio will be jealous, but they were kind of were the fun everyman type of characters that we saw in the original Ghostbusters film, and that is why I make that comparison. There's quite a lot of characters in this film as well. There's some peripheral characters that are all basically kind of sort of will end up sort of connecting in the end. Family of these kind of three guys. Another guy who is basically an ex-employee, and his wife, and a kind of a British woman who is was once connected to the company. There's quite a lot of characters here, but I would say the strength of this is its central premise, and these three guys, their kind of chemistry together, and they're just kind of everyman and very kind of relatable, nice guys, basically. So you want to watch them. However, don't be fooled. This is a B movie with a capital B. So if you are expecting high production values, a sensible script, you're not going to find it with this movie. This is going to be a thing for people who like things like Sharknado. The actual CGI here is significantly worse than any of the Sharknado films. I mean, whenever you see the kind of the sharks, they are basically, they look like cartoons. So don't be expecting any type of realistic graphic, and so much so that they, you know, you won't think they look like crappy CGI. They look like cartoons. So that is the kind of the major sticking point here. And they go a little bit overboard with kind of maybe the concept where they end up flying and being able to breathe in air and stuff. There are a couple of practical effects here and there, but for the most part, 90% of the effects here are all kind of CGI. And it kind of just gets a little bit OTT for its own good. I think the actual central premise was quite interesting, basically, and would have been, you know, a kind of if it had been taken somewhat more seriously, may have been able to, have a kind of a bit of a bit more of an interesting plot, but I felt it kind of loses it in some of these kind of pointless kind of cameos, and when it gets just a little bit too silly, it's these kind of two scientists that you'll see sort of towards the end of the movie, and it's just ridiculous when we kind of introduce the cartoon characters like that. But it's quite sort of punchy. There's very little gore here. Like I said, the way the effects work, you'll see a little bit of blood and kind of severed fingers and stuff like that, but the actual effects on that kind of side of stuff are kind of minimal at best. And when we do see them, they're obviously again on the sort of the cheaper side. There's also a lot of green screen here, which again is extremely obvious. So although I found this movie actually had somewhat of a fun premise, and I'll be honest with you, I actually probably enjoyed this more than I did the Sharknado films, which I find kind of quite tiresome, and this was down to mainly to the kind of the characters here, basically. Like I said, if you're like, you are like Jaws, and it's a thoroughly entertaining movie and well crafted and all that, if that's your kind of thing, then you're not going to like this film. I absolutely guarantee it. So, but I'm going to give this film 4.5 out of 10. I still kind of enjoyed it. What can I tell you? This is the definition of a guilty pleasure. I don't think it's a good film, but it is definitely a guilty pleasure. Anyway, 4.5 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.